Hey, what's up, y'all? So here we are in episode 5 of the Neon Demons, and this time around I'm making a few scenery objects to place around the ride. You'll notice once again that I've desaturated the colors to the point where we're now just in black and white, and that is because I want the final video to look as good as possible and to be a surprise for everyone. But really what I want to talk about today is the two big pieces of coaster news that came up in the past few days. That would be the layout that was shown on BGWFan.com of the new 2020 coaster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and of course the news that Kings Dominion is getting rid of Volcano. So let's start with Busch Gardens Williamsburg. So if you recall, if you looked at my Christmas Town video from when I went to the ACE event there, we got a special discussion with the park's president. And during that discussion, he said that SeaWorld Entertainment was really focused on thrill rides for the next few years. And we're really starting to see that now, I think. Not only is Busch Gardens Tampa opening the, blah, 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 blah. I can't even, the Tempesto clone. I can't even think of the name of it. But of course, there's news about this huge possible RMC that's coming there. And now we're seeing this proposed layout from BGWFans.com site that they built from that they designed from the drawing of the footprints. Looks like a good ride, actually, just based on what they've come up with. It sort of starts with one launch and then drops down into a ravine. And then there's some sort of a back and forth element that's very similar to the new European Intamins that we've seen some fan footage of, particularly from the IAAPA trade shows, as well as I think it was Amusement Insiders who did a mock-up of it in NoLimits. So the reverse section with the spike is certainly different from anything we've seen in the States recently. Certainly different from anything that Kings Dominion has, that's for sure, unless you count the old King Cobra or something like that, which I'm sure half of you don't even remember existed. So what this means is Busch Gardens Williamsburg is really stepping up their coaster game. For years, they've been the most beautiful park, and they sort of, I don't want to say relinquish the title of having these really supreme thrill rides in this region, but they certainly were less well known for that than, say, Kings Dominion was. But lately, they've really been stepping it up, and I think that this is going to put some pressure on Kings Dominion to do something if they want to compete. So speaking of Kings Dominion, unless Cedar Fair is just planning on closing the park down, which I can't imagine, but what do I know? Like I said, they're going to have to step up if they're going to compete. So Volcano is gone. I can say that Kings Dominion is the park that I've been going to the longest, and probably the park I've been to the most in my life. It was the first amusement park I ever went to, if I remember correctly. And in all that time, I only ever got one ride on Volcano. Every single time I went to Kings Dominion, it was broken down, or else the line was ridiculously long. I know the one time that I did get to ride it, I waited 2 hours, and that was because I had been quite a few times when it was working and the line was long, and I didn't want to wait in it. And this was before Flash Pass and all that sort of thing. So, or maybe it was, I can't remember. But anyway, the line was 2 hours long when I waited in it, so I only got one ride on it. Now, it was a very unique ride, much better than I was expecting. But I'm not 100% certain I'm going to mourn its loss all that much. A ride that's just consistently broken down like that is no fun. It's no fun to go to a park and you always want to ride something and it's not up and running. I know a lot of you may have ridden it plenty of times, and that's cool if you have. I'm sure you're going to miss it. It's sad. But I think it's setting up the park for a bright future. This competition is going to, I'm assuming, is going to take place between Kings Dominion and Busch Gardens. I think is going to result in a net gain for the folks in the region. So I don't typically do too much speculating, but of course we can always think that we might be getting, say, a hyper at Kings Dominion, or a new inverted, a wing coaster, maybe even wing, maybe a flying coaster. I can't really see Cedar Fair putting a dive in there with at Busch Gardens just down the road, but you never know. Maybe they'll do a Raptor or a Maverick clone or something like that. It's hard to say what's coming, but I imagine that it'll be something exciting. So I am looking forward to what this is setting up between Busch Gardens and King's Dominion. Should be very interesting, and I'm glad I live in the region. I'm pretty lucky to live around this area where we're just saturated with parks and so forth. So we're going to see what's happening. So that's all I'm going to say about all that, and let me just jump back to the Neon Demons really fast. Or, well, of course, if you all have opinions or thoughts about any of that, feel free to leave a comment. I always like discussing things with you all, so feel free to do it. But to get back to the Neon Demons, I'm just fooling around here, putting up some neon signs and so forth, which, given the name, makes sense. Somehow or another, I got it in my head that we're going with a Hollywood theme on this. This is not originally what I was envisioning, but it kind of just came about organically, and I think I like where it's going. So most likely this will be the last video. I keep saying that, but I think this probably will be the last video before I film the actual ride footage and so forth. So I'm looking forward to that. I've got my song all picked out, or what I'm pretty much anticipating is going to be my song, so we'll see how that works out. So coming up, as I've said, we've got more of FVD elements. As usual, I think the wing over is the next thing I'm doing, and then the Mako Stengel dive will be coming up after that. As I've said before, I'm going to Six Flags Fiesta Texas at the very beginning of is it March? Yeah, March. And I just got my 4K camera, so I should definitely have some nice footage from that park. I'm looking forward to that. So that's going to be it for this episode. As always, leave comments below. Let me know what you think about King's Dominion, Busch Gardens, or Neon Demons, or anything else. Otherwise, I will talk to you next time. Take care and enjoy the ride.